Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to IFLA Division C webinar series. And this month, we have a very exciting topic to talk about. It's actually a webinar series for LIS students, but we do have two keynote speakers from Australian LIS industry, not the mainstream libraries and such, but it's why they're here, why I drag Jamie and Peter into this webinar, and we're going to do this in a slightly, more relaxed way, so it doesn't have to be super formal. If you have any question, you have any comments and discussion to talk about, feel free to put in a chat, but we will try to accommodate as much questions at the end. You can type your questions in the Q&A box, but also in the chat. Both ways work for me. All right, so before we start, I'd like to introduce myself first. I will be moderating the session today at the webinar today. My name is Anita Dewi. I am a lecturer in information studies at Chartered University in Australia. So for me, it's very convenient time at the moment because this is 5 p.m. But I understand for those of you who join from different places in the world, it's quite, sometimes it's quite odd time. So I really appreciate you're here. Okay, to guide me through, I'm going to be sharing the good old PowerPoint slides. I hope you don't mind. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Could I get an indication if you can see the full screen of my PowerPoint slides? Yes, I got a thumb up from Peter. Thank you, Peter. So as I mentioned before, today we're going to talk about translating theory into practice to workplace learning, and it is a panel discussion. But before we start, I would like to go through the privacy matter that IFLA has put in place. This event is being recorded, including the chat. So the video itself will be posted on YouTube, and the link will be posted on IFLA Division C webpage, as well as section on education and training web page and social media. So that's Facebook and Instagram. The microphones at the moment have been muted for this event. If you have questions or comments, as I mentioned before, please type into the Q&A box or the chat if you want to. Today is quite packed, I have to say. We have two keynote speakers. So first we'll have Dr. Peter Hobbins, and then we'll hear from Jamie McCown. Both are I guess industry leaders or information organization leaders in Australia. And I will introduce them to you before their talks. And then it will be followed by student panels. So I'm expecting there will be 5 student panelists. One is Nas Haq, and I'll introduce Nas Haq to you as well. And then Brian Tominting, I hope I pronounce your last name correctly, Brian. Monica Kilic, Jaya Rector, and Dipti Mahabal. And then at the end, we will have Q&A and discussion. All right, without further ado, I would like to introduce our first keynote speaker, Dr. Peter Hobbins, a very humble person, but actually his title is quite extraordinary. So head of knowledge at the Australian National Maritime Museum. So today we will hear keynotes from leaders of LIS or information organizations that are not mainstream. And we deliberately invited them, both of them, Peter and Jamie, to join us because we've heard a lot from the public library sector, academic library sector, and so on and so forth. But today we'll hear different industry, different organizations who are using the expertise of librarians like ourselves in their organizations. So Peter Hobbins has the entertaining job title of Head of Knowledge, as I mentioned before, and he is based at the Australian National Maritime Museum in Darling Harbour in Sydney, Australia. He said that it doesn't mean that he is a know-it-all. I doubt that though. but he's definitely in charge of the museum's curators, maritime history library, and magazine Signals. And Peter's background is in the history of science, technology, and medicine, where he has researched various college subjects, including snakebite, or you name it here, pandemics, quarantine, aircraft accidents, and shipwrecks. And Peter has supervised nearly 20 students' placement at the museum, including my students, and is always eager for interns to produce real outcomes that they're proud of. I'm going to stop sharing so that Peter can share his screen and present his keynote. Over to you, Peter.
Just a second.
Sure.
Cool. Hopefully that's coming through now. Great.
Yeah.
Well, look, firstly, thank you for the invitation, and thank you, Anita, for being such a wonderful colleague as well, and for sending us so many great students. And that's a theme that'll come through in what I'm going to talk about over the next 10 minutes or so. I genuinely mean it about being colleagues here as well. So please, if you've got questions, just call me Peter. Feel free to correct me. As Anita mentioned, originally I trained as a medical writer many years ago, back in the last century. Then I retrained as a historian. So I've done a master's and I've done a PhD. And then I ended up working in a museum. And my job at the Australian National Maritime Museum in Sydney, Australia, involves me being in charge of the curatorial team, so our research team and our exhibitions, content generators, as well as our specialist library and also our publications team, particularly who publish our magazine. So we've got a fairly broad range of backgrounds in there. But I think the key to what I do and what I've done for 30 years is find, process, and communicate information. And basically, I can't do that without trained professionals like you. Now, there is a reason for showing stuffed toys, and I'll come back to that shortly. But when I supervise interns at the museum or in my past life being a university academic, I have these three principles that I really like to stick to. The first one is that I treat people as colleagues from day one, so that when I have students come in, or sometimes we call them interns here, I always treat them as though they're part of the team. They come to meetings with me, I ask for their opinion, I give them opportunities to develop things and make sure that it's not a student-teacher relationship, but rather I show them what I do and then I encourage them to do it to their standards. And in many cases, I definitely feel that I'm learning from them, and that's particularly true in the information management space. The second principle that I have is to give people real projects. When you come and work in our museum, it's an Australian government museum. It is meant to be national, even though it's based in one city. I always make sure that our students have a project that's meaningful. Sometimes it's a small part of a big project, but often I make sure that they've got something where they can achieve and deliver a genuine outcome by the end of that project. And that leads to my third principle, which is that the outcomes that they generate while they spend their time with us, whether it's 20 hours or 20 days, is something that they should be proud to show their friends and their family as well. So something they can really actually show off and stick on their CV. And to give you an example, this is some work from one of my interns. Now, she came to work in our library and she was really drawn to, although she didn't have a Japanese background at all, she was really drawn to these picture postcards produced in the early part of the 20th century that combined Japanese decorative art with black and white photographs of Western style vessels that were being rapidly adopted by Japan at that time to re-enter the sort of contemporary world at the end of the 19th century and early 20th century. And once she'd started showing me the research she was doing, I said, hey, you know what? You could publish a magazine article about this. And I know exactly the magazine. So Linda, her name was, wrote me a pitch. I checked the pitch and then she sent it off to a magazine editor, to a magazine we publish here in Australia called Traces. We helped provide high resolution scanned images for her, but the words were hers and she dealt with the editor and got that magazine article. Came out about 2 months ago. And so now, as someone who's just finishing a master's degree, she's already got a published magazine article that shows off her skills. She was also really keen to do something in our library as well. And so she proposed doing an exhibition around these postcards. And I'm pleased to say that I've just got the funding last week for that exhibition to go ahead. Now, it's small, it's probably going to be 6 panels, so it's not a major crowd puller, but still in the context of a specialist library, we're really thrilled to have this beautiful decorative work there. So these things go on her CV, but they're also genuine outcomes and genuine projects that benefit our institution too. Here's a biggie. Now, here in Australia, about 10 years ago, our National Film and Sound Archive, or NFSA, came up with this schema that they called Deadline 2025. And I won't go into huge amounts of detail about it, but basically they said all audiovisual content that's on old style mediums, particularly magnetic-based tapes and also optical discs like CDs, can't be guaranteed to be readable after 2025, which is, of course, now this year. We were really fortunate. 4 years ago, the Australian government gave the National Film and Sound Archive a lot of money, nearly 42 million Australian dollars, to work with other cultural institutions like us to help digitise these at-risk materials. And I'd just joined the museum. I'd walked into our library literally on day one and seen a bunch of cassettes and thought, oh, we need to get those digitized. So I'd already written a proposal to have that happen when this partnership was announced. And it's like, wow. So I pounced on the National Film and Sound Archive, like us, they're an Australian government institution, and said, we'd like to be your test partner, basically your guinea pigs. And as you can see here, we had plenty of materials scattered across our museum in different types of collections. Some were in our library, some were in the museum's collection, some were in our corporate archives, some were on bookshelves, some were under people's desks, and some appeared out of nowhere, and we never actually worked out where they came from. So it's a classic cataloging nightmare for an information management professional like yourselves. We worked with the National Film and Sound Archive, but this is where I really benefited from working with trained librarians and actually paid to bring in a contract librarian who then helped work with several of our interns from Charles Sturt University. And we set up a workflow where we said, okay, how are we going to do this? Like, what consistent coding system can we apply? What basic metadata do we need? What digitization standards do we need? How are we going to send them off? What are we going to do when we get them back? All those sorts of questions. We had to literally start with nothing. And it's where having those skills as a trained information management professional were absolutely essential. I knew some of the questions to ask, but I didn't know the answers to give. And so it was a real true partnership. So we built those processes. We sent off an initial test sample first. Then we moved on to sending some major batches. And in the meantime, the first batches were coming back. We were ingesting all those digitized files into our digital asset management system. We were checking the metadata and checking the quality of the files as they came in. And throughout that process, I was working with interns from Charles Sturt University, and I ended up putting at least 3 of them on paid contracts as well. One of them is still working heavily on this program today. Now, you can't always guarantee you'll have money to do these projects, but the success of those early stages helped me go up the line and say, look, this is moving really well. Can we have some money, please? And these are the people to do it because they're up to date with all their information management knowledge. They're definitely working hard and they're definitely enriching the collection. So what we've been able to do is get to the point where I think it will be next week, we can say we beat deadline 2025. So we will probably be the only national cultural institution in Australia who'll be able to say that all of our at-risk audiovisual material was digitized before the end of 2025. And what I've also been working on with our students or the interns has been some of the things you can see on the slide here. So making sure things have appropriate metadata standards. We're working possibly with the National Film and Sound Archive to get their new AI system to do base level transcriptions of the content so we can further enrich what we've got. I'm working with our colleagues at the National Archives of Australia to do reviews of the intellectual property so that we can clear as many of these things for access as possible. And I've been working with one of our interns, Reham, to work on a digital preservation policy, which our museum doesn't currently have, so that everything we've digitized has longevity as well. Now, it's always a risk trying audio-visual content in a slide presentation, but let's see how we go because we did find a lot of gems, and here's one that we were pretty thrilled about here. Let's see if it runs. I'll just point out this is from 1992. Now, you can imagine when we showed that film clip to our colleagues at the museum, they went nuts. But partly because it was 1990s TV graphics and it was pretty cheesy. But on the other hand, there were some interesting ideas in there, and just everybody liked to see the history of their own institution. Skills and the knowledge of the interns who came to us. And like I said, one of them is still working with us now. One of the other ones ended up getting a full-time job at the National Film and Sound Archive, and her connection through that program definitely helped her get that job. What you're seeing here is a bit of a horror story. On the left of the slide, you can see all those pallets. Imagine those pallets were full of archival material that had been given to your institution more than 20 years ago, and everyone had put them in the too hard basket and shoved them in the corner and not dealt with them. Well, I put this up as a potential internship project, and one of the Charles Sturt interns, Evelyn, came along, and we spent a day going through every box and opening everything. And you can see in the middle photo, Evelyn's there busily listing out roughly what was on each box. Evelyn, as a result of that initial sort of triage, then went back and provided me with a detailed catalogue and also some archival principles that she'd worked up from her time with that material, so that I could then put together a proposal to have a more robust project to actually deal with this massive collection once and for all. And yes, if you're wondering, yes, on the right were those 3 stuffed animals that we found in one of those boxes. They were basically corporate gifts that have been given to the museum 20 years earlier, and they've been hiding in those boxes ever since. We want to liberate them as well as the records in the middle. And as of next week, again, working with Anita, I'll be starting a project. We will bring in some contract archivists to do some high-level sorting of that, but working with some of the interns as well, who can actually get their hands literally dirty, or at least get their gloves dirty, working with this collection and culling it, organizing it, and bringing some order to that chaos that nobody had dealt with for 20 years. So again, a real project with real outcomes and some cute animals as well. Look, one of the other final ones that I'll throw in is that in addition to their projects working with libraries and information management, sometimes I always talk to the students and ask what interests them. And one of our recent interns from Charles Sturt named Rob was really interested in ferries. So, ferries are just boats that tootle across harbours and take commuters around and whatever. And we'd been given a couple of ferry tickets from the 1960s. Now, the one on the left looks super boring, right? It's just black and white printed, not very interesting. The one on the right looks really colourful. It's a great souvenir or whatever, and it's very 1960s. But the ticket on the left, it was actually the very first ticket ever issued on the very first journey, on the very first day, of hydrofoil ferries, which were this super high-tech type of boat in the 1960s. And Rob was thrilled to hold that in his hand because someone had donated it to us. So I asked him to work on that ticket, plus the other more glamorous souvenir one, which was a bit more common, but still cool. And he actually assessed those and brought them into our collection. So they're now permanently part of our museum's collection. And he also wrote a social media post, because this first journey was on the 7th of January, 1965. So he wrote a social media post for Facebook for the 7th of January, 2025, or 60 years on. And that went off. We had over 150 hits and lots of reposts and so on as well by a certain nerdy crowd of people who like ferries. And Rob counts himself as one of those as well. So again, through his internship, he's actually permanently accessioned objects into a national collection and helped promote them as well. So look, the final thing I'll say, and here's 4 of my interns working with me. We did a little social media post for the Australian Historical Association. You can see Reham on the right there in the green jumper. She has been a Charles Sturt intern. She's about to finish her internship, but she's also been on our payroll for about a year now as well. And what they're about to say about the excellent thing about internships when you get to watch this video, which I won't show now, is that they love being able to put their theory into practice and bring history to life. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. This is a real round of applause for you, Peter. I love the key message that I took from you. Some of them is that collegial is key, but also that internship or placement should involve authentic work. So yeah, excellent, and thank you. Definitely put your foot in the door with placements or internships, not necessarily get an employment, but being employable or more employable, and get that connection and network with people like Peter, who is, the leader in the sector or in the industry. All right, I'm not gonna talk too much. Let me introduce you to the second speaker, the second keynote. Jamie. That's nice Photoshop, by the way, Jamie. So Jamie is a CEO of Kaval in Australia, in Victoria, or in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. And I'm pretty sure Jamie is going to talk about what Kaval is. Definitely not a mainstream information organization again. So Jamie has over 20 years of experience at Kaval, having held various roles in technical services, admin, member services, digitization, and collection management. Possessing a Bachelor of Science and a Master's of Commerce, she brings valuable expertise and skills to current position as CEO. Jamie's strategic thinking, organizational expertise, and financial acumen make her an asset to the organization. That is definitely. And additionally, her ability to connect with people meaningfully and develop cross-functional teams has been integral to Kaval's success in recent years. Undoubtedly, again. So I've been working with Jamie very closely recently, the past couple of years at least, didn't we, Jamie? Particularly on placements and study visits, hence work integrated learning or translating theory into practice in a sense. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over the microphone to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Anita. And we've had some great conversations over the last couple of years, definitely, which I will touch on a bit later. I'll just share my presentation as well. All right, does that look good? Can see? Yep. All right, well, as Anita said, I'm Jamie McCowan, the CEO of Kaval. I am based in Melbourne in Victoria, Australia, so I'm on Wurundjeri land, and I would like to pay my respect to those elders and any First Nations people here today. And I also think that the attendance of all the students at this session is shows real dedication to the profession, because ultimately you will be definitely at some stage translating that theory into practice, and it's such an important thing. And I think these work placements are an excellent opportunity to do that. It's both beneficial to the student and the organization, as Peter said. I'll go into a little bit about Kaval and who Kaval is and what Kaval is. So Kaval is a member organization or a consortium of academic libraries in Victoria, Australia, and we provide services to libraries and educational institutions across Australia and New Zealand. So we work with educational institutions, but also public libraries, special libraries, and we really specialize actually in cataloging and metadata. So when we do have students come and express interest in Kaval, that's one of the key opportunities that we can offer, and we are working on different projects across the year that provide different opportunities for our students. I'll talk today about the goals and expectations that we have as an organization, but also how we work with students and our processes, the considerations and concerns that we have when we consider a student, because we are a business and we do need to consider that we are taking away from our staff time to work with the students, but the value that brings to us, and we want to make sure it's a successful opportunity for both. And then I'll share a little bit about some of the outcomes and results that we've had with some of the student placements that we've had. So we have, when I first spoke to Anita about this, it was almost like 2 years ago maybe, and she asked if we were looking at student placements, and it was just after COVID, and we were really nervous about it. But since then, I think we have a really good process for how we work with our students. And it's scheduled across all our business units. So we have multiple business units. We work in cataloging and processing. We do shelf-ready work for public libraries, specifically in languages other than English. We have a collection of our own, a shared collection in a low use, high density storage facility. So we have opportunities across there, and we make sure that the student gets to talk to all the managers across the business areas, including me, so that we have some time to share what we do and how we work. We also have project work that we identify for students to work at. One example that links to what Peter said is we have within our storage facility, the Australian Timetable Institution has timetables of ferries and of trains and everything that they keep within Caval, and we are helping. One of the projects we have is help them catalog that material for the same thing, for accessibility and discoverability. For that there is a group of people very interested in this, so it's something that one of our projects that we have. Important for the workplace experience is expectations of the our expectations. So we know the students come with a good base knowledge, but we don't have any expectation that they will know about cataloging, and it's specifically about cataloging and metadata. Like generally they've touched on the subject, and we know we have a lot of training to do there. Our staff like to share their knowledge. They like to work on developing that next generation of catalogers, and it's such a good opportunity with students to do that. And I think it is beneficial for both the student and our staff. And we really want to create that positive experience for our staff and for the students, because that's what makes it work the best. We do have some consideration and concerns. So we generally get requests from students from Charles Sturt or from Swinburne. And when they say, this is what I'm interested in, it has to align with our expertise and capabilities for it to be successful. Generally it does. We have a bit of a back and forth. They'll say, this is what I want, and this is what we propose to offer with working with them. Sometimes it doesn't, and they go somewhere else, and I think that's fine. I think we want it to be a successful situation for everyone. So that's a really good thing to work out in the first instance. Also, our staff availability, because you need to have that capable, qualified staff member to be able to manage the student, and sometimes we have to consider leave and when staff is available and what major projects and time of year. When we're working with public libraries, we like this time of year is very busy for us in the financial year. And also on-site and remote opportunities. So we right now prefer on-site because of the benefits with that supervisor being on-site. You have that expertise immediately on hand where you can ask any questions. The casual conversations that happen around the office with anyone, you can follow up with questions, and you can shadow people and what the job that they do. And they won't always think to tell you certain things when we schedule for remote placements, and we have maybe a online session where people describe what they do, and everything is scheduled to this point of time, and the full-time access to the supervisor is not available. But we still have tried to do remote placements. It's been interesting that sometimes there's not always a quiet place for the student to work with stable internet, which we have. That's a huge requirement, and we have a lot to do to improve that sort of remote placement, but we are open to working on that and continuing to improve that. So since over the years, we have had some really successful student placements. I think we look at success as this: if a student has come and they improve their knowledge and understanding, specifically in cataloging and metadata, but they also know more about Caval, they're going out into the workplace and sharing that knowledge and sharing the knowledge of what Caval does and what it can do. So even if they went to work for you, Peter, and then they're coming back and saying, oh, but Caval does all this stuff too, that could help with the cataloging metadata. I think it's like something that needs to be shared more. But we can also help with employment at our member institutions and customer organizations that we work with, because our training is good. And I know that when a university comes to us and says, the staff was trained by Caval, I know that that helps them, and that's a good reference for them for have that experience. So I know that's something that we look at as success as well. And also, sometimes the stars align and we have a job opportunity, and a student has just finished or is in the process of doing their work placement with us, and it has turned into an employment opportunity for that student. and that's the best situation because they've trialed Cavall. You know, we've worked with that student. We know that we have a good fit, a good cultural fit, and we have some great employees still with us at Cavall from being students that have done the work placements. But there are difficulties. I've already said online can be difficult. I think last minute requests we get, students maybe looking at the last minute, it's a bit rushed, and that scheduling can be hard. And if their expectations of what they want from Cavall aren't clear, or they're coming in with a mindset of this is just something I have to do, rather than looking at it as an opportunity, I think that can make it a bit more difficult placement. So my advice is to be prepared to research the organization that you want to go to thoroughly. It sounds like that's happened for you, Peter, that they've come in with these great ideas of what they want to do. That works really well for us. Put your request in early so that we can schedule it really well and get the best experience for the student. Keep an open mind. We have had people come in and say, we're really interested in your collection, in your shared collection, in the storage facility, not so much cataloging. And at the end of the day, they're like, actually, cataloging is different than what I thought when I actually am doing it in practice. And this is an enjoyable role that I could see myself doing. And I can see the value that I'm providing for the organization because it's so critical. And explore all the options that you can. I think if you're invested in this, you'll get a great opportunity. You'll get a great reference from the organization. Make sure you give feedback to them about how it went, what went well, and what didn't go well, so that that organization can make improvements to their programs, and take the opportunity to ask as many questions as you can while you have that professional with you and around you. And they, like, what I find is our staff, they want to share their knowledge. So speak to them, ask them questions. I think it's something that they really, really value. And that comes back to something Peter said as well, is that they learn as much from the students as they do from, you know, the student learns from the professional. So it can be such a valuable experience. So visit our website to know more about Cavall. I'm also happy to take questions about Cavall, but Anita and I did this podcast last year, which I re-listened to again, and it's a bit old in the time, you know, it was at that time, but I think that there's still some really great things that we touched on and great discussions that we had that might be interested for people to listen to. So if they want to look at that QR code, that will take them to our podcast, Anita. Oops.
Thank you, Jamie.
Are there some questions?
Yeah, I like that. The mutual benefit between students and organizations, that is a definite, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because otherwise it's not just the students getting all that they can from you guys, but also, you know, it's to some extent, sometimes organizations treat this, I'm pretty sure that happens at Cavall as well as at the museum, that it's like test before you buy type of things. All right, we do
definitely
have a question. Yeah, we do have a question. Well, this question is, Grisel, you probably want to retype your question, because at the moment it's just saying, what's the question? It's just saying Mr. Peter Hoppen. So we're still waiting for a Grisel question. But there is a question from an anonymous attendee, and I think this can go to both of you. Is there any possibility we can connect with you through internship program, even us coming from the Philippines? Peter or Jamie, whoever want to start?
You go first, Jamie.
Well, I did talk about this question with my colleagues, because I thought it was a question that we might get, and we wanted to say yes, we are open to having that discussion. So feel free to contact us, contact me, and then we'll go from there.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think we would be potentially open to it. It would probably depend on the avenues for which we do it. So I'm always keen to have students, and I'm really keen to have a very diverse group of people coming in, you know, with different language backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, because we're a national museum and we represent a very diverse country. And so, you know, I've certainly had students who had backgrounds from Pakistan, from China, from Hong Kong, as well as other different parts of Australia. I'm just trying to think of any other students who I've had come through. I did have a Japanese application at one point. So certainly we're open in those terms. The main thing our museum will want to know as an Australian government institution is whether you are fully insured through your university. So in other words, when you're doing a student placement, your university takes on the liability of anything going wrong, whether it means you fall over and break your leg, or whether you get trapped in the country when there's another pandemic, and that sort of thing as well. I mean, not that we're expecting the worst, but that's the main reason we get up. And again, we don't try to have those outcomes for our students, usually try to make it more positive than that. The other thing I would say in a situation like that, we might also speak to our colleagues at the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, who would be helping to build potential diplomatic relationships as well as the training as well. So yeah, I wouldn't say no. It would take a bit more work at our end, but we could certainly explore that.
Excellent. Look, that's the question at the moment, but Jamie has said that you're going to stay on, and Peter, I'm not sure about you. Are you staying on as well? Oh, awesome. There may be other questions coming up later, but we'll keep that. We'll save that for the last bit of the webinar, if you don't mind. I would like now to move on to our student panelists. This is exciting. It's always, I learn from students. I think I learn from them more than they learn from me, to be honest. All right, so we will start with the first panelist. Let me see if I can do this. Oh, there's Jamie. Naz, I think Naz is here, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Naz Hug, who is going to share her I guess her ideas, her experience on the role of internship experience in transforming library theory into practice. It's a first-hand experience of well-mentored intern. And if you can still mute your microphone for now. So I'd like to just introduce Naz. Naz is based at the University of Lucknow, and I know that her, the mentor, Associate Professor Anjali Gulati, welcome, from the Department of Library and Information Science at the University of Lucknow, is now here. So Naz is currently pursuing a master's degree in Library and Information Science at this university, and as a dedicated student, Naz has gained practical experience through an internship at the Giri Institute of Development Studies. Now, the experience focused on key areas such as classification, cataloging, aspects that both Jamie and Peter have talked about, barcoding, digitization, shifting and shelving, library management system, book acquisition, and financial records management. Again, areas that both the keynote speakers have covered also, and maintaining accessibility and organization. So Naz is passionate about enhancing library services and improving user experience through technological innovation. I'm going to stop sharing now to allow Naz. Are you going to use any slides, Naz? Are you able to unmute yourself now? We can see your screen, but we still can't hear you. If you go, you need to unmute yourself. There you go.
My screen is visible, ma'am?
Yes, yes, and we can hear you too now. All right. Just a reminder for student panelists, you have 7 minutes to
Okay, ma'am.
share your thoughts. Okay, over to you, Naz.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Nazak, and I am pursuing MLib ISC second semester student, University of Lucknow. Under the insightful guidance of my mentor, Dr. Anjali Gulati, Associate Professor, Department of Library Information Science, University of Lucknow. Internships at Green Institute of Development Studies, established in 1973 in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, named after Shri V.V. Giri, social thinker and parliament. This is Green Institute of Development Studies. My takeaway is cataloging, hands-on exposure, library management software, LIS, classification, organizing journals and book display and racks on stacks, electronic current awareness service, cataloging. Creating catalog cards for institution reports using AACR2. During my internship, I learned and applied cataloging principle by creating catalog cards for an institution's reports following the AACR2 standards, analyzing reports and extracting bibliographic detail like title, author, publication date, and subject. Applying AACR2 rules to create consistent metadata, design and writing catalog cards. This way, my first practical exposure to cataloging, where I learned how theoretical concepts are applied in real-world scenarios. Creating catalog cards enhanced my attention to detail and understanding of bibliographic standard. Cataloging future, implementation with WebFrame integration. I think that if I want to implement new tools and technologies in my library, we will design in such a way in the future that it become more accessible and impactful for everyone. Consider the future of cataloging from AACR to RDA to WebFrame, a word that's evolved. Until now, we have been using rules like ACR2 and RDA and creating records in the Mark 21 format for library catalogs. However, the Library of Congress has introduced the WebFrame system, a modern replacement for Mark. In the coming time, we can envision our catalog being based on WebFrame structure, which includes elements like work, intents, and items. The unique aspect is that our data will be semantic web formats like RDF, seamlessly connecting our library to global data network. Imagine a catalog that not only integrates with global platforms like WorldCat but also friendly to AI tools. Moving forward, we will plan to implement new features in software like Koha and Soul, such as Mark to WebFrame conversion tool. If we begin acquiring advanced skill today, like creating Koha plugins or learning linked data formats, it will make our library future ready. Also think about using subject heading in a new way, where instead of traditional heading, we use URI links that can integrate with linked data networks worldwide. And now consider the benefits of this new system: global connection. Our library will connect with major platforms across the world. AI-friendly advanced tool will help understand the analyze our catalog with easy. Career opportunity: new rules like metadata and linked data specialists will emerge. Hands-on exposure, library management software, LIS, barcoding and labeling, journals and magazines, economics, sociology, development studies, political science, environmental studies, public administration, rural development, and social science. During my internship, I got the opportunity to actively participate in the process of library modernization and organization. First, I learned to generate and apply barcode for journals and magazines. This task was carried out using LIS library management software through barcoding. Each journals and magazines was given a unique identity, making their tracking, check-in and check-out process much smoother. After generating the barcode, we input detailed information about the journals into the LIS system, such as title, volume, number, and issue detail. This made the library digital records even more accurate and accessible. The entire process significantly enhanced the efficiency of the library circulation and inventory management, allowing patrons to access resources quickly and easily. Future implementation: barcoding and items management. During my internship, I generate two applicable unique barcode for each item using LIS, which made tagging and management smooth. In the context of Koha, in the future, we can use batch barcode editing, a generation, a printing template to further automate and make the barcoding process for a more efficient. Cataloging and metadata management. In LIS, I perform manual data But Koha provide an advanced cataloging system using Mark 21, which standardized metadata. Additionally, by using Z39.50 servers, we can import existing catalog records from other libraries, saving time and efforts. Circulation and real-time inventory. Apart from the basic check-in and check-out ellipses, Koha offers features such as real-time inventory tracking and self-check queues. With RFID generate, we can create an even more seamless experience or for patrons. Overdue alerts and online access. You already know how helpful overdue alerts are for library patrons. Koha enhanced this feature by providing automatic email or SMS reminders to patrons. Additionally, the online public access catalog allows them to manage their accounts, reports, and data analytics. In the future, using Koha customizable reports feature, we can generate detailed analysis of circulation trends, resource usage, and overdue statistics to make informed management decision for the library. In the future, we can actively utilize advanced feature of LIS such as automatic overdue alert, online catalog access, and real-time inventory update to make library services even more user-friendly to tech-savvy. Electronic current awareness service, diverse social science areas, opaque searching, arranging journals and managing alphabetically, made it easier for patrons and researchers to locate a specific title, organize journals in a structured and accessible manner, scanning and digitizing documents, scanned fragile and old documents to create their digital records, ensured the longevity of document and overcome physical limitation through digitization. Organizing electronic files, systematic manage digital records in a well-structured way, enhance search capabilities, made resource retrieval faster and more efficient for both patrons and staff. Data entry for journals and magazines. Entered update content of journals and magazines into the library database. Kept the database up to date, providing patrons with the latest information. Online public access catalog. Searches. Used OPEC to guide patrons to relevant resources, streamlined and made the overall user experience productive. Taping and binding. Extend the life of journals and magazines through taping and binding, prevented wear and tears, preserving valuable content for the future. Future implementation. Electronic current awareness service. Develop a full-fledged electronic current awareness portal where latest articles are digitally update and user get notification. Metadata tagging for digitized files to enable smarter and faster searches. Integrate artificial intelligence tools for automated categorization and recommendation. Enhance user access through mobile apps and remote login system. Periodic training for library staff on advanced digitization and electronic resource management. Implement cloud storage for better preservation and backup of scanned document. Thank you.
Thank you, Naz. Thank you so much. That is very comprehensive and very detailed of sharing your experience. Really appreciate it. Well done. Okay, Naz, do you want to stop sharing, please, so I can share my screen and introduce the second. Analyst. All right. Okay. Thank you again, Naz. And the second student panelist today is Brian. I wrote Brian Tominting here, who is going to share about gaining industry insights through internship. Brian actually has a long name. Brian Paulo goes on Tominting. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Brian. Brian is based at Bulacan State University in the city of Malolos, Bulacan, for the Philippines. So Brian is a dedicated library and information science student, passionate about expanding his knowledge and professional experience. Having completed an internship at the University of the Philippines, Diliman College of Engineering Library, and currently interning at the University of the East Department of Libraries, He continues to gain valuable insights, and his experiences have shaped his career aspiration, driving him to refine his skills and explore future opportunities in the field. I'm going to stop sharing. I know someone has a hands up. If you have any question, would you mind typing in the chat for now so that we can talk about it a bit later? Brian, are you using any slides that you want to share?
Yes. Can I share it now?
Yes, of course. We're all waiting to hear from you.
Thank you. Can I start now?
Yes, we can see clearly.
Good day, everyone. Mabuhay. First, I would like to thank our organizer for giving me the opportunity to share my internship experience through this webinar. I am Brian Paulo Gossen Tumiting, a graduating student of the Bachelor of Library and Information Science, studying at Bulacan State University, located in the city of Malolos, Bulacan, Philippines. With the guidance of Maria Pritilay Abdala, my internship professor, and Welsie Vergara, the program chair of Bachelor of Library and Information Science in the university. Here to discuss my presentation titled Gaining Industry Insights Through Internship. Before we dive into the topic, just to provide a brief background, let me share that our curriculum requires us to take 2 internships for a total of 400 hours. And in those hours, I came to realize that internships offer a lot of advantages, but what truly stood out for me was how much insight I gained into the actual industry. First, it provided a clear picture of the workplace culture. During my internship at the University of the Philippines, under the College of Engineering Library and the University of the East Department of Libraries, I witnessed how different roles work together to smoothly operate a library. They have the administrators and library heads who manage policies, budgets, and strategic planning. The technical services working behind the scenes to organize, catalog, and maintain resources. The users and readers services that interact with the library patrons every day. And of course, the information systems and network services plays a crucial role in maintaining the digital infrastructure, enabling seamless access to online resources, and ensuring the library's network runs smoothly. In my case, I've been exposed to this structured organization. When I was assigned to be part of the cataloging section, I closely worked with the acquisition and circulation team, and since the work is dependent on one another, I saw how one small delay in a work setting could affect not just my team, nor the whole organization, but also the people who are asking for our service. This is very different in the university, wherein group work only affects the group itself and no other. Having witnessed that, I realized how important teamwork and accuracy are in the workplace. Building connection is also a key takeaway of the internship. I wasn't just working with people, I was learning from them. I got to interact with fresh graduates who were just starting, sharing the challenges they faced before they became full time librarians. I also worked with seasoned librarians who offered advice and additional lessons they had gathered over the years of experience. Talking with them gave me something in the classroom never could, a real world perspective on what it's like to build a career and in library and information science. For your insight, library science is a regulated profession here in the Philippines. Some professionals also share their experiences about reviewing for the licensure examination, what subjects to focus on, and some study strategies. It was valuable to hear this firsthand because it gave me a clear idea of what to expect and how to start preparing early. In the slide are some pictures of me and my colleagues together with our supervisor and even the head librarian. Next, internship bridges the gap between theory and practice. During my internship, I experienced to apply what we learned in class about cataloging books to an actual library setting. In the classroom, we work with a limited collection of books to practice cataloging. But when I got into the actual library, I saw that there were a lot of books with different formats, and each of these had to be scanned carefully to determine the correct cataloging. This made me appreciate the complexity and attention to detail needed for cataloging. At the same time, digitizing. I only learned digitizing through words and theories, and only internship provided me with an in-depth understanding of that through real-life application. I also experienced firsthand assisting patrons directly, something we don't usually get to practice inside the classroom. I helped users locate books by their call numbers and answered some of their inquiries. But my role didn't stop there. I also assisted with a range of services that go beyond the traditional role of a library. For instance, I managed laptop lending, guided them on how to reserve a discussion room for their group meetings, and even helped students borrow scientific calculators for their classes. These services go beyond just books and research materials. And I witnessed how libraries today are evolving to meet a wider range of user needs. Moreover, I also got a closer look at the challenges libraries face, like how to keep the library popular and engaging for students, how to ensure it's efficient in managing resources, and how to stay on trend with new technologies and services that users expect. As I reflect on my internship experiences at both the University of the Philippines Diliman, College of Engineering Library, and the University of the East, Department of Libraries, I can confidently say that these opportunities have been transformative in shaping my career path. At both universities, I was able to gain a deeper understanding of how theory and practice come together in the real world. I learned valuable lessons about diversity and complexity of library work. I saw firsthand how libraries are not just places for books, but evolving spaces that provide a range of services to meet modern user needs. Most importantly, my internships gave me a clearer sense of direction for my future career, both as a library and information science student and as a future professional in the field, ready to contribute meaningfully to the growth and transformation of libraries. If I were to choose my career path now, from these experiences, I would like to be part of the circulation desk, particularly because I like interacting with people and assisting them in their needs. We'll see how it goes. That concludes my presentation. Once again, I am Brian Paula Gostin Timiting. I also to take this opportunity to send my gratitude to my friends who supported me in this journey, and of course to our faculty. As earlier I already mentioned them, Miss Welsi Vergara and Miss Maria Pretty Abdala. And that would be all. Thank you and maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Brian. Excellent for the excellent presentation. Okay, we have to keep moving on now to the and a lot of clapping hands there, as you can see. The third panelist is Monica Kilic, who is going to share with us about navigating your path to employment, leveraging graduate placements, internships, and skills development for career success. Monica is actually joining us from Canada, so it's about nearly 4 o'clock for her in the morning. Monica is a Master of Information candidate at the University of Toronto and in the Library and Information Sciences concentration. So she received a bachelor's degree in Environmental Studies from the University of Waterloo and currently works as a metadata production and electronic access specialist at Scholars Portal. So already working in the industry or in the sector, I should say. Prior to obtaining full-time employment, she held the student positions at Scholars Portal and in the Metadata Services Department of University of Toronto. So she's currently completing a practicum with the Council of Prairie and Pacific University Libraries, working on data project for their shared print program, again, authentic project. So she's interested in AI applications for metadata workflows, cataloging, and open source tools. All right, over to you, Monica.
Okay, thank you very much. Oops.
Yeah, I was
All
gonna
right,
say.
can I get confirmation that everyone can see
Yes.
my slides? Okay,
Yes,
great.
we're on your presentation.
All right, thank you. So yes, my name is Monica Kilic. My presentation today is titled Navigating Your Path to Employment, Leveraging Graduate Placements, Internships, and Skills for Development for Career Success. The agenda today, I will be doing a land acknowledgement, an introduction to who I am, finding your specialty, how I learned from student positions, and how classroom lessons stack up against real-world experiences. And I'll wrap up with a conclusion. I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which I live and work on as the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Métis, and the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation. Who am I? Thank you for that lovely introduction. My name is Monica Kilic. I am a Master of Information candidate at the University of Toronto. I am also a metadata production and electronic access specialist at Scholars Portal, which is a e-journals and e-books platform and kind of like a database that provides scholarly resources to all of the universities in Ontario, and we will be expanding nationally as well for all of Canada. I'm interested in metadata and cataloging, AI tools supporting metadata-related workflows, and free and open source tools. So first, I'd like to begin by talking about how to find your specialty. You can reflect on past work experiences that you really enjoyed. For some people, you might enjoy the social aspect of interacting with others, and that might guide you towards reference. Whereas for my past experiences during a co-op placement during my bachelor's of environmental studies, I was doing very detailed work reviewing historical files for properties that were requiring environmental remediation. And that sort of gave me the skills to get my first student placement at Scholars Portal, where I was reviewing metadata for ebooks. And it was very, very detailed review of bibliographic records. And then also think about, what did you learn in school that you want to learn more about? That can really pique your interest as to what type of librarianship you might want to work towards. Also, identify skills that you already have and those that you need to work on. As students, it can feel sometimes like, oh, well, I'm just a student. I don't know what I have to offer, but we offer specific skills that, are very valuable to employers. So think about, how can you leverage skills that you learned in other places that will be very beneficial to an employer? And also think about what you want to work on and what you want to gather from the placements that you're attending. Like, is it practical hands-on skills of how to catalog, or other things that you might want to work on? Maybe you want to work on your social skills. That could also be something that people might be interested in. And then also, keeping in the back of your mind, kind of as you're going through your student employment, what sort of skills are you gathering that you're going to be able to concretely put on your resume? Lastly, networking and speaking with people in different fields. Who can you approach to answer career-related questions? Some people are more approachable than others. Ideally, you have a supervisor that will be helpful in answering questions for you. And then also, how can you be respectful of their time and effort in providing their mentorship? Come well-researched with questions that you want to ask. Maybe you'll research that specific person and ask them, how did you get to where you got to, and what can I do to get onto the same path? So what I learned from student positions. So practical skills, there are hands-on experience. So, you can learn about cataloging, but doing it is a completely different situation. So getting that hands-on experience, actually working on a project, actually cataloging books, is something that you will gather from student placements. And also how to find the answer yourself. One of the biggest things I learned during student placements was asking my supervisors how they got from my question to the answer, and what was their thinking along the way, and what information were they gathering from their experiences as well as external sources, so that I could piece together ABC, so that when the issue comes again, I know how to answer it myself. The next one is collaborative and professional environments, learning how to navigate differences and approaches to issues. One of the most valuable things my Slavic supervisor, when I was working at Metadata Services, taught me was that two bibliographic records can be correct. One is more correct for its institution, and yours might be correct for your institution, and that doesn't make it wrong. And so that's about working in a collegial environment. and also how to work with others to solve problems. The other thing I learned from student placements was leadership examples. I was very, very fortunate to have fantastic mentors. And one of the supervisors was the head of metadata services at the University of Toronto, May Chan. And something that she talks about is the most generous interpretation, understanding that we are all there working towards a specific goal to provide the best services to our users, and that, you know, we're all just trying our best. And so, you know, being collegial and respectful in an environment where we're trying to solve problems together. So how the classroom stacks up. So classroom lessons help you think critically and how to question power structures and challenge existing systems, which I think is very important, especially when, for cataloging, for example, there's the Library of Congress classification system. And, you know, there are things to really think about and consider about, you know, the process behind those things and whether those power systems are correct, especially like in Canada, there are a lot of issues with Indigenous subject analysis. Also working with classmates on group projects. You know, you have to work with people. So kind of gathering your experience through group projects as a student also helps kind of navigate how to problem solve with others. And then something I will note is that I think that classroom material is falling behind current trends in the library environment, where I'm seeing a lot of integration of AI or linked data that is not really something that is being taught in classrooms. And then for workplace lessons, a lot of hands-on experience that make you competent in a certain field. You want to be able to have those specific skills on your resume for when you're applying to jobs. Again, working with colleagues to complete tasks, and then real problems that require real solutions. The reality is that in a real organization, it's not going to be perfect. It can be kind of messy. And sometimes the less expensive option is the right option. So keeping that in mind as well. So my 3 takeaways are: ask questions, form relationships, and align your strengths and experiences with student placements that will support future employment. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Monica. Well done. All right. I just have to run now. We still have 2 more student panelists. And again, please stay on, Monica. Don't go away. It's only a few more minutes. Stay awake. Then you can go back to bed, probably. The 4th student panelist is Jaya Rector, who's going to share the Tukaran Sadakbayan, I hope I say that correctly, the grassroots approach to LIS services through community outreach and extension programs. So Jaya is again from the Philippines. She has her mentor, Anasel B. Delima, who's here, I think. And Jaya is an undergraduate library and information science student from the University of Southeastern Philippines, the Obiro campus. She's a 4th-year BLS student with 5 months worth of internship experience, has worked with diverse groups, not limited to differently abled children, victims of child abuse, children in conflict with the law, and Indigenous people, especially from far-flung areas. So a few leadership roles in the as a student in the organization, as an organizational president within the BLIS program, and Congress representative as well in the House of Representatives. Now, outside of academics, Jaya volunteers for a socio-political organization focused on empowering Filipino youth. So Jay is passionate about socio-political commentary and enjoys music, films, and reading whenever time allows. Who doesn't, right? Okay, Jaya, over to you.
Allow me to share my presentation. Is it visible? Okay. First off, I would like to introduce the title of my presentation. It is Tugkaran sa Dakbayan, which is
Sorry, Jaya. Hear you very softly. Could you lift your microphone a bit higher, closer to your? Yeah, excellent.
How about this? Is it audible? Okay, thank you. So for my title, it is Tugkaran sa Dakbayan. It is Cebuano, the grassroots approach to LIS services through community outreach and extension programs. And I have my advisor here with me, as well as our program head of our university. And this presentation, it's gonna be different from the presentations prior that was presented by Brian, by Monica, and Naz, because it's logistical. The aspect of their internship is more on the logistical side of librarianship. Meanwhile, I am more focused on the community outreach and extension services of library services. So uh, the premise of this presentation is more on breaking the conventions of library services and or librarianship in general. And all right. So my rationale for this presentation as well is to showcase the grassroots approach or initiative during our for the better part of the entire year last year, because we traveled to different provinces, different districts in our region to bring the library services right to their tugkarans, or the third space in sociology, in terms of sociology. Okay. It takes a village to raise a child, according to a proverb, and it takes an entire community to foster growth, and this is achieved through grassroots approach. So as for the theory, as far as theory is concerned as well, it goes back to the fifth law of library science, which is library is a growing organism. And for me, the current status quo of libraries here in the Davao region is it's growing. It's a growing scene here, and more children are starting to appreciate the value, the reading in general, and the library services that are not limited to reading in itself. And I derived the title of my presentation to my mother tongue, which is Cebuano, and the word tugaran refers to a backyard or an open space. As a child growing up, our tugaran has always been a communal space where I play with my cousins, with my friends, and and the tugaran, the backyard, is where I study as well, under the cool shade of our the kaimito tree. So in this regard, a tugaran can be considered as a third space, so to speak. Meanwhile, dakbayan, it's derived from our language as well, the very same, Cebuano, means city in Davao City, my hometown, because it is also colloquially regarded as its another moniker, the Dakbayan. The Dakbayan has been widely regarded as the melting pot of ethnic groups, ethnic tribes from different cultures and upbringings in Mindanao at large, in the island. So there are about 48 tribes here and I'm sure there are a lot of ethnic groups as well, belonging under those ethnic tribes. Tatag IP Foundation is a non-government organization, and throughout the entire internship, I can say that our experiences have challenged the usual conventions of library services. Our deployment mostly took place outside the walls of air-conditioned libraries. We traveled to far-flung districts and province, to the huts and mountain peaks. So we actually had to walk on foot to get to these spaces, to these huts, so we could meet these Lumad children or indigenous children. So our aim basically was to uh, implement support structure in an unconventional sense, institution and library instruction. I apologize. Is my presentation moving?
I was gonna ask, did you mean, yeah, now it's moving along.
I'm sorry.
Excellent.
I apologize. I was not able.
That's all right. I just saw you have 5 slides, so I thought, oh, maybe she
Yeah.
wants to flip the next one.
So thank you for bringing that up as well. And yeah, as I was saying, what we aimed was to foster support, implement structure, institution, and instruction in the most unconventional sense outside the classroom, outside the library. So in some way, we can create a conducive environment where these students can learn. And Tatag IP Foundation is actually a non-government organization, as I have mentioned, and we have coordinated. Our college have coordinated with them, and we have also implemented an extension program. It's called the Tatag IP Training Series, and it is an extension program where our college is in collaboration with the students, the Lumad students, indigenous students, and we collaborated with uh, other degree programs such as information technology and computer science, as well as the Ateneo de Davao University, since it's a concerted effort to bring these services to these far-flung regions, areas. Since we conducted workshops in different parts with respect to our specializations as well. For the LIS, we actually conducted a workshop on how to spot fake news as well as information literacy in general. We also donated books in coordination with the Ateneo de Davao University for the children to read. And we work closely with the Ata Monowo children. They are indigenous children and who were involved and affected by the ongoing armed conflict in our province. And I am aware it's a sensitive discussion to have. What our extension program basically aimed was to give them a fighting chance that there's more to the circumstance that they were subjected in. And since IT integration was a trend on the rise, our college implemented the high technicity IP program to teach them the fundamentals of IT courses and CS courses, as well as LIS courses. And the students are quite quick and meek learners as well. I've watched them assemble an Ethernet cable from scratch, and I was able to assemble one as well for the first time. I had the chance to talk to them as well. I was able to roughly catch their language because since I belong in the same province as well, which is Davao del Norte. For the next slide. Okay. For the storytelling sessions, during our internship as well, we conducted storytelling sessions for children and residents from different districts. We held this within the library to open spaces, like I said, the tugkaran, such as basketball court with our mobile library in tow, because basketball courts are also considered as third spaces where children can play in the communal space. We actually went through a screening process each, since there are different factors that influence storytelling, the inflection, the delivery, as well as keeping the children interested and engaged throughout the storytelling session. We worked with girls as well from the Balay Dangupan Foundation. They used to be abused but are now welcomed into the shelter. We also catered to neurodivergent children who are autistic, and and they were actually quite nice to work with because they were so receptive to the toys and the tactile toys that we provided them, as well as the age appropriate books that we provided them. For the next slide, allow me to. And this is actually part and parcel of the extension services that I have mentioned earlier. During our internship, this is probably the most traveling I've done in the space of 2 weeks. Every other day, we would go to these districts within the Davao region and we would invite as many children as possible to enjoy our mobile library services. This is actually in coordination with the city government, which is the Davao City Library and Information Center. So we could render these services more accessible to these children who are far away from the library. We have mascots as well to make it as inviting and entertaining to them as possible. We wanted to make sure to foster the love of reading, as well as to break the usual conventions of library services. In all of Davao City, there are actually a few libraries that are accessible to patrons. So the government saw to it that they should deploy a mobile library unit to bring these library services right to their doorstep. And for my last slide, allow me to. And for the last slide, this would be the virtual storytelling. Si Laleng at Lakbay Paaralan. This is actually associated with the rationale of my presentation, which is the grassroots approach to library instruction, or to bring the library services to them. We filmed a virtual storytelling last year, which is a back to school special. We chose this storybook as well since we aim to showcase that there are different library and education instructions that are tailor fitted to students from different ethnic backgrounds. So we wanted to tackle sensitive subjects as well, like armed conflicts, to invite a more nuanced discussion on protecting the Lumats and their children from these conflicts. And this is actually, we actually implemented this as well because we wanted this to be accessible in the digital age. So more children are more interested with reading, and as well as to foster the love for books. Now, to conclude this presentation, according to Kant, I have read, practice without theory is blind, but theory without practice is mere intellectual play. And the real world scenario is not laden with by the book instructions, but it's more forgiving when you learn in increments, allowing room for growth. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for having me today. And before I end this presentation, I would like to thank the organizers and the host for this event this afternoon or evening or morning, whatever time zone you are in.
Wherever you are, isn't it, Jay? Thank you so much. Now we come to the last panelist, but not the least, of course, of the day. That's Dipti Mahapa, who is going to talk about workplace learning as your best opportunity. So Dipti recently completed her Master of Information Studies librarianship specialization at CSU, so soon to graduate. She has been working at Brisbane City Council Libraries as a library assistant since 2017. She holds multidisciplinary degrees, Bachelor of Commerce, Master in Personnel Management, and Diploma of Library Information and Cultural Studies. Now, her achievements include, among others, being nominated for a number of professional and educational awards. She's also passionate about information literacy, research metadata, and digital curation. And Jamie, hear this, she was actually a member speaker of the CRIC Seminar 2024 panel last year, conducted by Koval on information literacy is turning 50, inclusion in information literacy. I am going to stop sharing and hand over the microphone to you, Dipti.
Hello.
Hi, we can see you. Excellent.
Oh, that's great. I was a bit nervous whether I'm able to connect or not. Sorry. I'm currently in India, so there's been a lot of power outage since morning. So I've struggled a bit, but I'm finally here and I'm thankful and I'm sorry to disturb you in between. So am I good to start?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much, ma'am, for giving me this great opportunity, and also to Charles Sturt University, as well as to all the organizers who are involved in this fantastic event and who always help the library information sector students in many ways. So I don't have any slides today to share, but I would definitely like to share my views and points, which I have learned in my workplace learning at State Library of Queensland. I actually worked at State Library of Queensland as a work placement student, and I worked in the 3 sectors, which was in customer service as well as in the research and metadata. So I would just like to mention some key points during this talk. And the main 3 areas which I would like to focus on is community. Secondly is the collection access. And third is the connection. And you will understand as I start talking that how these 3 points are like the major foundation for the library and information sector. And it really doesn't matter whether you're working in libraries or in records or archives or in museums, but these are the 3 foundation pillars. So firstly, I would like to mention that I started working in the metadata sector in the State Library of Queensland, and it was a fantastic opportunity for me. And why I'm emphasizing that how this work placement is a great opportunity to start with. So I was able to work with very experienced and senior librarians, which was really a very huge positive point for me, because I was able to understand their views and perspectives on different concepts and theories, which may be a bit difficult to understand as a student when you're in a classroom environment. So it helped me understand and gave me an overview of the different concepts and theories, which is possible in a work placement opportunity and maybe a bit difficult when you're working in an organization or when you're just learning as a student. Not only that, but you also come to know how different systems, policies, and theories are being applied in a particular manner or in a particular situation. Because sometimes you may have thousands of questions like, why am I using this concept or why I'm using this theory, but which you'll be able to understand only when you're able to actually be on the side and work on some projects, which again is being offered on a workplace learning environment. Now, when I was in the metadata section of State Library of Queensland, I was given the opportunity by my supervisor to be a part of in a meeting with an e-resources vendor. And even though I was just a silent partner, which means I was just listening to the conversation and trying to gain the maximum knowledge from them, it was really a very eye-opener for me, because I was able to understand the viewpoints not only as customer or a patron, but also as an information professional. And it helped me know that sometimes you don't understand things from the other side unless you're on the other side of the grass. So it's very important for you to go sometimes in depth to be able to understand the values or the reasoning behind it. And let's not forget, since COVID, lots of things have changed, and the way technology is advancing, there has been lots of ups and downs. And we as library professionals, or even as students, we all are trying our best so we can reach to the community and give them the collection access and meet their needs in various ways. The second point I would like to emphasize is the use of different referencing skills that I was able to use or able to learn, I would say, at State Library of Queensland, because State Library of Queensland not only specializes in one part of the collection, but they also have special collection, heritage collection, rare collection. They have books and many things which you can name. And if you go onto their website, it's amazing. This not only helped me to understand the important skills, which are like attention to detail, why it is important to know sometimes the history behind it, or the reasoning why particular collection is stored in such a manner, or why certain things are involved, or certain amount of knowledge or time is involved, and why also how the senior experienced librarians are working so hard in maintaining that collection so they can give the access to the community of Queensland. Also, it helped me develop my research skills. Now, State Library of Queensland also has an amazing section, which is the Government Research and Information Library, which is also called GRAIL, and it's a membership, so obviously it's a paid membership, and they specialize in delivering information and resources that inform the policy development as well as to drive innovation, investment, jobs, and growth. That's a very special kind of sector, and it was really amazing that I was able to be a part of it, because it helped me learn different skills of communication as well, and to understand the different kind of community they are serving, which is not like a general community from the public, I would say. And most important, the time management skills involved, because it's a more specialized service. Time is the key factor here. So it's very important that you not only deliver the information or meet their needs, but also being able to meet the deadlines of delivering that information. And let's not forget that in a library and information sector, the most important things which I have always been coming across many times, and I still come across, is that you need to know what your community is after. You need to know what their needs are. And secondly, you need to know how to find that information so you can reach out to them. And if these two things you're able to gain knowledge, or if you exactly know where to find that information or whom to even ask that information from, you will always be able to meet the customer needs. And also there were different things that I learned in my State Library of Queensland placement, was the different databases, which usually is not possible in a classroom environment, because you're more on assessment focused. And even though if you want to do some learning, it has to be in your own time zone, which can be sometimes challenging. Like especially it was challenging for me because I was a first-time mom that time. So, and with COVID times and everything, it was very difficult for me to, juggle being a mother of a little born baby, as well as trying to gain new knowledge. And I really have to mention special thanks to Anita ma'am, as well as all the CSU teachers who have been a great support during this journey. The third point I would like to emphasize is mainly the Ask a Librarian chat service, which was again one of the best platforms, I would say. And if you get an opportunity, you must really go for it, because it not only gives you an overview of all the different queries that community comes and wants to get information on, but you also get to learn the different databases, the different resources that you can reach out to. And sometimes you might think that, oh, I already know this, but actually you don't know. This is just the beginning. And this is what I feel since I've been in the library information sector, that every day is such a new learning that you'll be amazed to know that, oh, this is something which I didn't thought of, or this was a better way of doing it rather than the old traditional version. So using the ref tracker, which is used in the chat service, it helped us give the different statistic information, like what type of queries were being asked most, or what were the timings where it would get busier with the chat service, or which query took longer to answer the questions, or which query we were not able to meet to, and what were the challenges involved in it, or what was stopping us from meeting the customer needs. So all these things I was able to learn only at during the work placement. And initially, before starting it, I was really very hesitant, because I was like, I've already been working in the libraries, and why do I really need this? I'm already being a student at CSU, and I think I have enough knowledge. But trust me, actually, you don't have sometimes, and this is your stepping stone to be able to learn that knowledge from your senior supervisors, as well as the environment you're in. And you'll be amazed that it is such a great experience to do it. I won't take long. There are just a few things I would like to mention before I finish. Collaboration and engagement with the schools. This was again one of the amazing things State Library of Queensland does, is arranging the school visits for the museum visits. And I had been to one of the museum visits with the school children, and it was spectacular, I would say, because those little children with their amazing curiosity helped me understand that, okay, this is the research area which I really need to do from their point of view, or from their thinking angle, which sometimes we tend to forget. And they would also come across different questions, like what happened to this soldier, or why this portrait is of importance, and why is this being placed in the museum. And all these things, sometimes you can never have that kind of knowledge, because knowledge is so vast. There's no way that you can try to gather all that in limited time. And the State Library of Queensland definitely gave me a huge networking opportunity. It also helped me understand the different community needs they're adhering to, and most important, how they're trying day and night to and working harder to provide that access of collection to the community. And lastly, the most important thing that I learned in my State Library of Queensland work placement is that I was able to gain lots of skills, not only the soft skills, but attention to detail, time management, listening skills, communication skills, gaining confidence, even networking, where even just being able to ask a question to my supervisor, which I usually would be scared of, because thinking, oh, would this be a silly question? But actually, no, that definitely gave me a lot of courage and confidence in doing that. And this is like your keystone as a student. Whenever you're dealing with customers or their queries, it's very important because the cultural aspect sometimes comes in between, where you're from a different culture and the customer is from a different culture. And if you have that confidence that where you can show the customer that you're able to understand where they are coming from, it can definitely make a very huge difference. And this all you can definitely mention in your resume, as well as when you're given the interview opportunity, you can definitely put it across to the panel saying that this is what you have learned. And I'm sure they'll be very happy with that response. And lastly, but not the least, there are some amazing organizations, like not to mention IFLA, fantastic, ALIA, CAVIL, they have their newsletter subscriptions, which is free. Subscribe to those newsletters because they are fantastic learning opportunities. I do know that some of them are paid memberships, and which may not be possible for every student. And that's absolutely fine, because I would definitely say that even when you pass out as a student, don't forget to maintain that connection with your teachers or even your work placement supervisors, because they're always there for you. And they will definitely appreciate that you're able to still remember them and you're still reaching out to them, because I'm sure they'll be very, very happy to share their knowledge and their experience with you. It's just a matter of a phone call sometimes, or even just reaching out to them and meeting them in person. The important areas which I've really enjoyed working is information research, metadata, also, and not to mention is the information literacy, research, metadata, and digital curation. My apologies. And in this, I would just like to say that it's very important that you understand the context, the audience, the purpose, and most important, that you understand how this information sector works, what are its challenges, and what are the issues we are facing. Let's not forget, technology is rapidly changing, and obviously the way we are working is sometimes not working always because of the technology. And this all knowledge can be gained through workplace learning. And that's why I keep saying it's your best opportunity. And lastly, I would say that my last line, I'm sure, this placement has helped me understand how analysis of information resources is important in successful information retrieval. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dipti. Yeah, surely gone are the days when library work is in isolation from each other. We're not just sitting in silos, definitely. Look, everyone, we have learned from the keynote speakers here, and thank you, Jamie, for responding to the question in the chat. Really appreciate it. I'm fully aware of the time. Everyone is staying on here, so I really appreciate it. But today we have heard a lot different perspective that enrich each other. I think I learned a lot from you about translating theory into practice to workplace learning. Let's reflect on that. I will reflect on that as an academic and see how I can support students, my students, in translating theory into practice, as I'm pretty sure Peter and Jamie also will reflect on that, and how you host and facilitate and learn as well from the student, that our students from academics, the academics send to you with their knowledge and their skills, that you can utilize them as well. I won't be keeping you much longer, although I see that, oh, yes, there is a comment. Congratulations, a lot of congratulations to the student panel as well. Done, everyone. I really appreciate everyone joining today, including the attendees, but most of all, of course, the student panelists. So if I can ask everyone to join me in giving a round of applause. I'm doing it live now, and I can see Jamie is doing it as well. You can do the virtual one as well if you want to. Thank you. And also thank you very, very much to the keynote speakers. I know this is outside your work hours, Jamie and Peter, and IFLA is getting this for free from your time. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. It's 6:40 for me, so it's PM, 6:40 PM. Time for me to start cooking dinner probably. And Monica, for you to probably start really getting out of the bed now because this is 5 o'clock in the morning. And everyone in Philippines and everywhere else in India, have a lovely rest of the day or rest of the night or evening, wherever you are, whatever time you are at. Please join me in enriching and maintaining the relevance of our profession. It's nice to see you, and I'm pretty sure I'll see you again in other opportunities, other time. Take care and bye for now.